Welcome, welcome. We're so excited to have you for another Angel Studios live stream. We have a wonderful show for you tonight. My name is Jared Giese. I lead distribution at Angel Studios, and I'm just so excited to talk to you and bring some special guests that are going to help us introduce our upcoming January movie release, January of 2025. It's called Brave the Dark. And it's a story that has and is going to impact the lives of many, and I can't wait to tell you about it. So today we are joined by some special guests. We have Damian Harris, the director of the film. We have Derek Dienner, the producer. Julio Macat, the cinematographer. And then Nate Deen himself, who's the original writer and subject of the film. So we're just really glad to have you here today. They're going to help us announce that tickets to see Brave the Dark in theaters on January 24th are now live and available to purchase. So as a perk for purchasing tickets to see the film, one of the other really exciting things we're happy to announce today is that you will be entered into a $200,000 dream vacation giveaway sweepstakes for you and a teacher that has impacted your life. So basically, it's a huge thank you gift to them and all that they've done to impact your life. We're going to have more details about that as we get closer to the release. But you can purchase your tickets to this movie by going to angel.com/brave giveaway. So there's a link there that you can scan or click to, and that will have all the rules and how it works. And you're going to find out more information about there. But the main thing is this movie is just going to really impact you and tell this powerful story. And so when you get tickets to this movie, that's how you get entered into this amazing contest. So with that being said, we also have our special guests here to help you all get to know the story behind Brave the Dark. And we're truly in for a very special treat tonight. We'll also be having a live Q&A throughout this live stream and through to the end. So make sure you post your questions for Nate, Damian, Julio, and Derek below. So now that we're all here, the first thing we want to do is make sure you've seen the trailer. So let's go ahead and take a look at that right now.
My father was an angry man. And I'm a bad person, I'm just like him.
Nathan Williams, you're under arrest.
I'm here to see Nathan Williams.
Are you family?
No, I'm his teacher. You don't belong here, and we're gonna get you out. Do you have any family I can call? No one.
You gotta get back in school.
You have a convicted felon living with you.
A poor little homeless boy in a charity case would make you feel good? What?
You do realize that this is your only chance.
Screw you, dude.
Screw me, really?
You're not a social worker. There's a good kid there.
It's not a problem.
You have brought him back here. What exactly do you know about this kid?
I know he was living out of his car for 2 years, going hungry.
You gotta be careful. This is not the same as being their teacher.
Stand on the chair, take a deep breath.
Saying your first priority is to this school.
Isn't my first priority to my students?
What?
All of them?
Failure to graduate guarantees you serve the sentence in full.
You gonna try and fix me? You know how many people have tried?
Maybe we're getting somewhere. Come on, what else you got? Come on.
A liar, a loser. I've heard it all before.
You know, whether it's something your dad did to you or your mom didn't do, you have got to deal with it.
You weren't there.
Why are you here if I don't care?
I care that you don't go to prison. Some kids are born behind the 8 ball.
I can't do this. And I'm cursed.
We're lying to them when we say everything's gonna work out just fine. But don't those kids deserve the same chance as the others?
Man, what a powerful story. I can't wait for you to see it. Now I'd like to give a very special Angel Studios welcome to the director of the film, Damian Harris, Derek Dienner, the producer, cinematographer Julio Macat, and Nate Deen, whose incredible story has inspired this film. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Well, guys, I would love to have you introduce yourselves to our audience tonight and just sharing a little bit about how you got involved in this incredible project. And Damian, I'd love to really just have you kick this off with, and you had such a very key role on this project for several years. So tell us a little bit about how your journey began on this.
It began through my stepfather. My stepfather is an Anglican priest, and he's also an author. And his parish is in the prisons of London. And one of his books was optioned by our two New Zealand producers who aren't here, the Bradley brothers. And Jonathan, my stepfather, said, if you're ever in Los Angeles, look up my stepson, which they did. And you kind of you do these meetings and you say, hey, if you ever have anything, I'll send it your way, you send it mine, which usually leads to nothing. But in this case, about a year later, an email arrived, and with it was Nate's script. And I read it, and it's really rare to be emotionally that moved or actually cry at the end of reading a film script, because film scripts just don't work like that. But this did. And so I signed on, and I got to go to Lancaster and to meet Nate. And he then shared with me all his photographs and everything that he had. And one thing about the script, which I've said to Nate earlier, is it really was, I've called it Dickensian in terms of how the flavor of it. And it really went from him from being 6 to 17. And there was about 2 or 3 films there. And so when talking to him and hanging out with him, and I felt like I could simplify it, and the structure of the movie was really about the relationship between Nate and Stan, and that's what we worked on, and we got the script to be that, and then we put the film together and had to wait through COVID, et cetera, until we arrived finally in Lancaster to make the movie.
Amazing. I'm going to move next to Julio. And we were just talking before the live stream, and Damon, you were saying that Julio was the second most famous person on the set with your background.
Sometimes the most famous. Actually, sometimes the most famous, much to my brother's chagrin. But yeah, he was.
So introduce yourself. Yeah, tell us how you got connected here.
Sure, I'm Julio Macat. I'm not that famous. I just happened to work on a movie that a lot of people saw, Home Alone. But I had always wanted to work with Damian. Of course, I knew of his reputation. I knew his work, and it happened that my wife knew a lot of his friends and him. So we were introduced, and Damian and I hit it off, and it was a happy surprise that, when he pitched me the story and the way that I imagined it, in comparison to the photographs that he showed me about the story, I saw it very much the same way. So I was very excited to join forces and to see if we can make the story come alive.
That's beautiful. Well, and I think you have, and audiences are definitely going to discover that, and could definitely see your handiwork in the trailer there. Derek Dienner, producer here. Tell us, Derek, I know you came into the project a little bit later, which isn't usual. Usually the producers are from the beginning. So tell us about how you got connected to this story and how you brought it home.
Yeah. So I'm also a Garden Spot High School graduate, like Nate, where the story takes place in New Holland, in Pennsylvania. Met my wife there, and you always heard these stories of Mr. Deen. Nate, I heard about Nate too over the years. I knew Stan through my mom and through my family, and it was just, he's just larger than life character. And so Stan, whenever I would see Stan out, he did a lot of community theater when he retired from Garden Spot. So he did community theater at Kavad Performing Arts, my mom's studio in New Holland. And he would always be like, Nate's working on this movie about his life. It's his story. You got to talk to him. You got to talk to him about this thing and get involved. But it was before we were really connected. But I met Nate, through Stan. But again, from the community there, heard all about this film happening. And then when COVID happened, the other producers that were overseas in New Zealand, talked to me, and I got involved and kind of was able to, get the final support from the community with our investor group in Lancaster and in Central PA. And, the community stepped up. We had 47 different investors and so many people from our community that stepped up to make this film happen. So it's pretty cool. I mean, Damian and Jared and Julio and Nick and Nicholas Hamilton, of course, Jared Harris, that there was a lot of those people who were connected to the film already, which was amazing. So I just had to come in and kind of connect the dots and try to see if our community is ready to make this movie, and they were.
Amazing. Well, and last but not least, Nate Deen, thank you for joining us today. The story really started with you because it is your story. Tell us, how does it feel seeing this incredible team come around to bring your story to life?
Yeah, the one thing you learn in film is that it takes an army. And I believe that we had some of the best people on our team. When I first shared the story with Damian, by the end of the evening, I knew that he got my story and wanted to tell it. And that's amazing. And just so many good professional men and ladies that were on the Brave the Dark team to help make this happen. I couldn't have been more blessed to be surrounded by so many good people.
When did you decide? Because I know it's not just only your story, but you are also a part of the screenwriting. When did you decide I want to bring not only just living through the story, but to actually tell the story to the world?
Yeah, about 11 years ago, Stan encouraged me, the guy that's the teacher in my story, said, I really think you should tell your story. I had a really good friend at work, and we got to really know each other. But one day he just said, "Hey, let's get together for lunch and tell me your story." And I said, "Do you want to know the real story or the watered down version?" And he wanted to hear the whole story. And so we sat at like some pizza joint and talked for like 2 hours over our lunch. And I just told him my story, and he was so enthralled by it that he actually went home and wrote like the first 15 pages of it in script format because we both loved movies. And the next day he gave it to me at work, and I read it, and I was like, "Hey, I think we should do this." So that was kind of how it started. And like for the next year and a half, he and I and Stan wrote the first screenplay, and we're very thrilled with it. And we kind of knew that it was a story that needed to be told.
Yeah. And here 11 years later, we're getting ready to bring that story to the world. And I think that's just amazing. Tell us a little about when you got connected with Damian and your guys' conversations and how you knew that Damian was the right person to bring this story to the screen.
Yeah, I mean, Damian came out to visit us in Lancaster, and we met at some hotel lobby, and I laid out all of the photographs of Stan and myself and our story, and we literally spent the afternoon going through each detail of the movie and the script. And I realized as we talked that, one, he really wanted to do it, but he also got the story. It's not an easy story to tell. And in fact, he was able to help take a lot of the script that we were struggling with and actually kind of redo it, retighten it up, and tell it in a much better way, which was awesome. But I knew that night, I even think I told Damian, I said, "This is your story to tell. I'm giving it to you to tell because I believe that you're the right person." And can I tell you, I'm thrilled with the film, and I'm just so excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, that's wonderful. Damian, you talked about how you read the story. As a director, when you're looking at these kinds of stories, do you find the true stories more compelling or more challenging? How did you approach adapting when you're talking directly to the person who lived it?
I don't think of it really as the fact that it's a true story or not. I think it has to be effective as just a piece of drama, and I think what I got from what really, oh God, I'm shaking up now. What really got me was the end of the movie when basically Nate became Nate Deen, and I kind of realized the whole journey is about him getting to that point, and it's like it was a sort of a search for his true father, and the movie for me was really, you kind of figure out there's lots of things. You figure out what is a film about, and it's about a script and a story, but actually what I thought, this is about a boy who's searching for his true father, and there's a push and pull you between his blood father and this other man. And it's all going to come down to the choices that he finally makes. And I thought that was very compelling. And then I was moved that he made the right choice by the end of it. And I thought that was very identifiable. And it didn't, obviously it helps that actually it's true that it's happened to Nate, but actually it happens to so many other children out there, so many other kids and sons and daughters, that it's very universal. And so I thought it was very powerful. And I then, there were a lot of moments in the script that were already there. I mean, they're all there. It was just a matter of getting the shape of it right and the structure right. And then it's just about, my job is about, creating moments that basically impact an audience of complete strangers who have to have the same feelings, the same response at the same time, even though there's no connection between either of them, but they're all feeling the same thing. And that's what we, all of us, strive to do and execute. And that's what makes a good movie. But it has to be in the script. You can't do it with a bad script. And so it was there. I saw its potential.
Well, and it's usually the person who the story is about is very not usually the person who's also writing the story. And so, Nate, tell us a little bit about your journey of not only just having your life portrayed, but also creatively wrestling with that process. You hear talk about creative liberties to bring someone's story to life. In some ways, you had the pen to write some of these creative liberties. Tell us a little bit about how you made decisions as you were walking through the creative process.
Yeah, I think early on, I realized that I had to be honest with the life that I had lived. I had to be honest about my past. And that's hard because sometimes it's easy to just skip over those stories and not tell them. But I felt like I had to unleash all of those darknesses, all of those negative things that happened to me so that others can learn from them, which is really hard because there's a lot of times when I'm like, no, that should be taken out. I don't like that scene. That makes me look bad, or the way I treated somebody or stealing something. So yeah, creatively it was tough. But understanding that, I'm not that person anymore. I can tell this story because I'm healed from that story. Was important. And I wanted it to be authentic. I didn't want to make things up because I didn't have to. I lived this story. And so I was able to, with the help of other people and other writers and Damian, of course, to shape it into what it is. That's very, very close to what really, really, truly happened. As close as you can get, I think, with a movie.
That's beautiful. Damian, I loved what you said about finding your true father. That so resonates with me as having seen the film and what I think audiences are going to experience, and really what Stan became to Nate. I'd love to pivot to actually talk a little bit about about who Stan was in your life, and yeah, just how is that, was Damian's representation of that? Was that your experience of it too?
Yes, I mean, Stan, yeah, I mean, the day I walked into Stan's classroom, hungry because I hadn't eaten for a couple of days, and I walk into this teacher's classroom, and he could tell that I didn't look right, and he offered me this candy bar. Um, was literally the change of my life, the planting of the seed of hope in my life, because I was so desperately looking for someone that could care for me, and at that point, I didn't know that it would be a teacher, but I was in desperate need of someone to come into my life to help me through things, because I wasn't figuring it out on my own. And for this teacher to offer me a candy bar at that moment, because that's all he had to give me, and not want anything in return, really was that beginning of our relationship, our friendship, that eventually became like a father to me.
What I found amazing is that as we were looking for locations around Lancaster and in the vicinity and places where this happened, everybody knew him. All you had to do was to mention his name at a coffee shop, wherever we were taking a break at a coffee shop, or, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're making a movie. And, oh, what is it about? And next thing you know, Stan had done something to the people there, helped somebody start the coffee shop. And, oh, I'll never forget it. Just the amount of people who were touched by this person from, for an outsider, it was unbelievable. That I know that it was a smaller town, but it seems like he touched so many people. That was incredible.
Yeah.
Derek, I know you talked about the community that, I mean, this really is a story that comes out of small town America, that loved and cared for each other, and that Stan was a part of. I mean, and really that community is bringing this story to the world. Tell us a little bit about the role of Lancaster and how they've come around this story and why they care so much about Stan's story to being heard.
Yeah, Lancaster is a really special place. It's Lancaster County actually has around 500,000 people, and it's in central Pennsylvania. And I joke around that it's, everybody says, oh, this place is like in the middle of nowhere. Well, I said, well, it's actually in the middle of everywhere, because, you have Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, all these big cities within an hour and a half or so of Lancaster County. But it's really this hidden, maybe not so hidden anymore. It's becoming more known now, but it's this great entrepreneurial business community, creative hub that has so much, going for it. And Stan, he championed theater, and basically when he showed up every day and helped people every day. And so for 35 plus years at Garden Spot, and then even longer at other schools, and when he retired at community theater, you can see this is Jared Harris, in Stan's classroom in the actual Garden Spot High School playing him. But literally, people just knew about him because of the impact that he had in the creative arts. He actually, in some ways, set the table creatively for this film to be made, because, he was, there's a line in the film that says, nobody walks out in a Stan Deen production. And literally that, you could put on a wall, Stan Deen directed by Stan Deen, and you could put it out on a billboard or a sign, and people would come see that show because they knew Stan's level of excellence, his level of creative, the ability to get things out of people and out of kids that they never believed in themselves. He would cast, kids in roles that they never thought they could, just because he wanted to build their self-esteem, or because he saw something in them he didn't know about. So, 45, 50 years later, from the beginning of Stan's career, we're making a movie about his life. There's generations of people who have been impacted, and so when we started talking to people about raising money to make the film, and, getting locations, all the things that that Julio was talking about, it was like it kind of helped make it. It all made it. Stan made it all possible because people were changing. I want to be part of this film. I wanted to help tell Stan's story to the world. I want to help tell what he did for Nate. I want to make the impact that Stan made. So it was pretty cool that it had this like wind at our back, and it was like this really great energy around us of the impact that Stan had. And I say now, it's like Stan gave his life for small town USA. You know, it's time that his story gets the world stage that it always deserved. And you know, that's what he did. And like, you know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're so excited about, and when we saw the Angel Guild approve this film, that just to inspire people to be like Stan themselves, and I think so many of us have teachers and mentors and people who have made a big difference in our lives and in our communities. So,
and it's right that they're celebrated. It's right that they're celebrated too, because you know, heroes are not just in capes and spandex suits. It's like, and even those are the ones that seem to get all the press time and the celebration. It's somebody like Stan who actually it doesn't want anything from it. That's what comes from the movie and from talking to Nate. He didn't want anything back. He just wanted to help Nate. He was worried about him, and he reached out, and he wanted to stop him circling the drain and going down it. And he didn't expect anything from it. And to digress for a second, when we were doing location hunting, I came across other people who had the same experience with Stan many years later. I mean, this was something that was in him, in his character, and that's something that I think should be celebrated as opposed to be taken for granted or even looked down on.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm blown away by just the community and that came around this, and you know, the family basically that have supported this. Damian, you know, you have famous brothers and that have come together to work on this. You got to work on this with your family, with your brothers too. Have you ever worked with Jared and Jamie before? Was this the first time?
No, actually, the very first film I made, called The Rachel Papers, was when actually the very first professional actor I directed in my very first professional direction, I gave a piece of direction, was to Jared. And he said I was giving him too much direction and I should just leave him alone. He knew exactly what he was doing the scene. Which I did. But then I cut the scene out later on. But we've been working together. We worked together on that, and you know, and I have a very good relationship with them. And when after I met with Nate and I'd gone to meet him and then come back, and I often give the scripts to Jared or Jamie to get their perspective as an actor on the characters. And so Jamie was in Prague filming, and so Jared, you know, he generously he read the script, we talked about it, and he had, you know, he had his opinions on the character of Stan, on the story, and he was involved even before I'd offered him the movie, although secretly that's what I was thinking about doing, and so I knew that in a sense I'd gotten him hooked because he recognized what a great story it was and what a great character Stan was, so that when I eventually said, "Do you want to do this?" he couldn't really back down because he'd already said how good the part was, and he came on board, and he was great to work with. They both were, but you know, you make a movie and like this, you're shooting in 25 days, and this was a difficult film because there were many locations. There was a lot of people. There was a lot to film in 25 days, and it relies on basically two people. One is Julio, and the other are your actors. And in terms of how smoothly it could go, and Jared from the beginning understood that he was integral to that, and so he would always say at the beginning of a scene, "Okay, where do you want me to stand? I mean, what will take the least amount of time to prepare to light this scene? I'll just put me there, and that's what I'll do." Which is quite rare to have for an actor to do that. So he was definitely really a friend of the project and willing to get it done in the time that we had to do it. And he was more than just the lead actor. He was part of the team making this film.
Were there any specific scenes or moments that were especially challenging in that tight production schedule?
Yeah, there was. There's, you know, the movie exists. There are two storylines. There's the external storyline, which is the relationship between Nate and Stan, and the progression of that bond, and is that bond going to lead to their relationship happening? And the other storyline is the internal one, which is what's going on inside Nate, and that is a mystery. I mean, and it comes, the way we had done it in the movie is these repressed memories that come up, which really are like pieces of a puzzle, which don't make sense at the beginning, and you have to start putting them together. And it's only over time and a bit of perspective that they start to make sense. And they basically culminate in a scene that's very disturbing and very difficult. And we all knew how hard that was going to be to film, and we took 2 days to film that. And because it was going to be, you know, emotionally confronting, obviously to Nate, but to all of us making the movie. But to make it even more difficult, there was a 6-year-old actor on the set, and so we had to make him not. He couldn't take this in the same way that we could. So we had to make it seem like it's play acting. So there was sort of these two levels of what was going on. There was what we knew, the reality of what the scene that we were basically reenacting, and then there was having it seem acceptable and in a way that was believable to the child, to the kid actor, but making it seem like exactly what I said before, like play acting, which we succeeded in doing.
Oh, you absolutely succeeded. I mean, that it is so powerful, and just the face of that young boy. I can't wait for audiences to experience it, and they're going to be very much moved. I'm glad you took that time. Julio, I'd love to hear from you. You know, you guys are filming a lot of different challenging scenes at different places. Tell us a little bit about, you know, maybe some of the favorite scenes that you had and how you approached them visually.
Sure. I have a few favorite scenes, including the little boy's performance, and there's something about this little boy that is he's like an old soul, you know. For us, and you know, discussing it with Damian, shooting the camera to where it was always personal, you know, where we shot in anamorphic format, which is a wide screen, and we let a lot of the shots play to that wide angle screen, which also made the faces of the little boy even bigger and more important. For me, it was important to have the camera be transparent, first of all, and not get in the way of the story, you know, not get in the way of the story, and be very personal. And what that means is being on wider angles, being closer in. The 27 millimeter lens was like a lens that we kept coming to because it was close and personal. And then as far as a favorite scene, I mean, there's in the story when Nate is devastated, and he has this life or death choice, and he steps up on a bridge. He jumps into the river, and Damian and I had wanted to somehow slow time down and somehow create a moment that was special. We didn't know exactly how it was going to go, but in essence, as Nate falls into the water, and then it's in ultra slow motion, it becomes sort of a very poetic moment where it's feeling like he's breathing underwater, and it's a moment in time. Yeah, that moment. It was really something that we had talked about and didn't know quite how to approach it, and then eventually I was really impressed with how it came together and how it conveyed a moment of, whether he makes it or not, and his will. And it's my favorite scene in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, mine too. It's so beautiful. And yeah, almost, yeah, hauntingly beautiful. I'm so glad you guys captured that part.
And the rest of the execution of it all, it was like a well-oiled machine. Everyone. It's a funny dynamic, but people sense it when you're doing something special, and they don't mind working really fast and working really hard and making things, using our experience to make do with what we had. Like the time that we on the day prior to starting the film, the last day of prep, I wanted to shoot some plates so that we'd have more time shooting the scenes where people are driving, both at night and during the day. So I wanted to shoot these plates so that we could do a less expensive composite later, shooting the car in a stage with a green screen. So I got Derek's car. We borrowed his car, and here you'll see three major cameras on it. There's probably $2 million worth of cameras and lenses on a Prius, which I thought the bumper is going to fall off at any minute. And then I felt so badly afterwards that I said, no, I'm driving this thing, because if we drop three cameras, I'm the one who will be responsible. So we went ahead and shot the plates, and we're able to save at least half a day of filming. But that's the kind of thing that was going on, because everybody wanted to do their best. We all wanted to facilitate it. It was as Derek was saying. It was like we all had the same goal, and we had fun doing it too. We had a blast doing it.
Yeah, I still don't know why the Prius was chose. Like, it's so random. I mean, I guess you wanted a car that was low to the ground, that was older, that was okay if it got beat up. I don't know, but it worked out. I still drive the car, so it's got a good memory. Got a good memory for me getting in that car.
Good, great.
Julio, how do you, when you approach, the emotional tone of this story, and the tools of your trade, how do you approach the lighting, the framing to support the tone of this story?
Well, it all comes from Damian, and it comes from us talking, going through the script, seeing what the points are of each scene, what's important in a scene, because especially when you're shooting in such a short period of time, you have to kind of shoot shots that are in the edits. You don't have the the free time to, let's try this shot, let's try that shot. You sort of have to commit and shoot stuff that is going to come together. So we were extremely economical, but it had to do with what Damian was trying to convey in that scene, in the story, what we were all trying to say, and then reverse engineer that and say, okay, the least amount of shots we need in order to tell a story is this. So it was up to me to utilize, lighting to set a mood quickly, and then the composition factor, so that what's important in the frame, and then the movement of the camera, which we did a lot. We at the beginning of the film, we attached the camera to a golf cart and stabilized the lens, and then we followed Nate running around the track in one continuous shot, which was really cool and effective, because you were into his persona. You stayed with him throughout the whole race, and it was it's nice sometimes to have to be economical because of what we're doing. There's no option. You just have to do what's effective and execute it. And we were all very, very much in sync about the story we were telling, and that's what's important. So that
and you had a very, very good Ronin operator too.
Yes, my son Max was the operator of a Ronin rig, which is like inexpensive Steadicam. And when Damian saw it, and we were practicing with it, when Damian saw it, he says, "We're going to use that thing a lot because I want to move around." And so it was great. It was a nice. It was kind of like getting back to basics in a way. Good storytelling, efficient setups. Without many discussions about, well, we could do this, we could do that. We sort of knew where the camera had to be, and mind you, when you have the top-notch actors that we had, there's no fooling around. You don't want to waste their time either. You don't want to say, "Oh, I need another take. Can you do this again?" You have to come in, with your attention on it and appreciate what they're doing, and execute.
Damian, as you're bringing this whole team to unify around this story and crafting a single narrative, what do you hope that Brave the Dark will inspire viewers to do or reflect upon after they watch?
Good. Okay. I think this probably gets into another question that you guys were interested in asking, which is about themes, and themes of the film. And I think themes are very subjective, and because I have no idea what Nate's theme is, and I don't know what he felt when he sat down to write it, and I don't know what either you three think about it. I know that when I was making the film and making Nate's story, I thought the theme was that you can't be alone. You have to allow other people into your life. You have to allow love into your life. And that was very much about Nate and Stan's relationship. And then we part of the project of this movie is we finished this film a while ago, and we edited the movie, and then we did the film festivals, and then you guys came along, Angel, and it gave us the opportunity to go back into the editing room again for about a week. And I wanted to change the beginning because I thought the beginning starts with him in a cornfield, and I felt it was too passive, and so it starts now with him running, and it literally is. There's him as a little kid, and then he's running on this school track. And I thought, oh wow, the film's about you can't run away from your past. That you have to face it and deal with it. So I think those are two themes that you can take from this movie. And that's what the great thing about the film is that you sit there and everybody you can take whatever else you want from it. It can impact you and can say something to you that really resonates for you at that moment. But I think that's why I think the story works, because it is so human and it's so relatable too. And not just from Nate as well. It's also from Stan, because the other thing about this film, which is quite rare, is that you have two characters who are both going through their own journey. They're both on an arc in a way, because they kind of find each other at the moment where they're stuck. They're stuck in life and they're not moving on. And yet by coming together, they actually end up to become the element that moves each other forward. And so there's Stan as well, who's basically stuck as well, living in grief, and he can't move forward. And that's relatable too. And so I think that's why the movie works.
Absolutely. Nate, I love to hear from you. What are the messages? What are, for the Stans out there, and what he was in your life? What do you hope? What's your hope that audiences will take from your story and from Stan?
Well, I mean, I believe that the Brave the Dark is more than just a movie. I think it's a film that will stay with you long after you viewed it. And I hope that people get the sense of hope and redemption, and want to be a Stan in their community, right? Like someone who makes a difference in their community. That's what I hope people get from this thing. And then on even a deeper level, there's a lot of social issues that are part of this film. Mental health, addiction, domestic violence, adoption, fostering, and I just hope that this film will open up and lead to greater empathy and maybe an understanding for the viewer for all of this. This movie is so much more than just an easy story. There's lots of things that you can take from it, but really just to be a Stan Deen in their community, helping others, even on some of those people that we may have given up on because we've tried and tried and tried. But Stan never stopped with me. He never gave up. He never. He always encouraged and always pushed me to be a better person, even when I didn't even believe in myself. And so, yeah, the world could use a lot more Stan Deens in it.
Yeah.
Well, and
there's a line at the end of the movie which Nate says, which is when he talks to the kids in the orphanage and he goes, "You got to hang in there because there is somebody out there who'll care for you and help you."
Well, and Nate, you're doing that now with the Stan Deen Foundation. Talk us a little bit about your work there and what you're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, Stan helped me as he also helped a lot of other students and people in the community. And now, in honor of him and using his name, I've started the Stan Deen Foundation. And we want to help. We want to help kids. We want to help young people who are struggling in life, who need a father figure or whatever. But we want to help young people, and we want to do it through education. That's what Stan did. But Stan was also part of the arts, and we want to help through the arts as well. We want kids that don't have the opportunities to play a musical instrument and not have to pay for it because they can't afford it, or to be in a play, a school play, or to work as a PA on a film, anything that we can do to help young kids today who are struggling, to create a community around them the way Stan created a community for me. I think that was the difference for me, is that I was no longer on my own. He created this community. He got me involved in the arts. He helped me with my education in college. And I think a lot of young people don't get that. They're disadvantaged, and we want to that's kind of what the Stan Deen Foundation wants to do. We want to partner with other nonprofits and help young people the best that we can moving forward.
Intersection of the arts and doing good. It's a story that amplifies light, and that's what I love about this movie. It's a powerful human story, but it's a good movie, and people are gonna love it. And that's why they need to buy their tickets. Tickets are available now. So if you haven't scanned that little code yet, definitely don't wait on this. And there's a bonus that when you buy tickets to this movie, you're going to get entered into an amazing contest to both for you and for a teacher. So I love the work that you're doing with the Stan Deen Foundation. Derek, I'd love to hear from you briefly. Why do you feel like stories and the arts and stories like Brave the Dark are so important to share with the world? I love that photo.
That's a great picture. I think I'm always moved by true stories. The ones that when you go home after the theater and you're Googling, what happened? Is this what happened? And you're just so intrigued, and it sits with me that much longer when it's a true story. And so that's the kind of films and the stories that I like to tell, and that's why another reason why it was important for me to be part of this. And I think that, from the beginning of time, stories were used to bring, principles, were used to inspire, used to, help people kind of get through challenging times in life, and, encourage you in good times, like both, celebrate, laugh, cry, all those things. And that's why I think it's important to keep these types of stories going. Nate lived this, and when we watch the film with him, it's like you're kind of putting on his shoes for a little bit and living through the empathy and just really seeing his journey, which I never would have been able to do otherwise. So I think that's why it's really important. I think that's why it's always been fundamental to humanity and to society. And with films, we can do that in a really great way.
Absolutely. Well, and speaking of films, I've heard that we have the official poster. I'd love to show that that's something to share with the world here tonight. I don't know if you all have seen that yet, but here's the official movie poster that will be in theaters everywhere. And
nice.
So, get your tickets today, people. I'm telling you, buy early.
Cool.
It's when you do that, it makes a difference, and it tells theaters that these are the kinds of stories that you want in your city and in the public square of the movie theater. Really, theaters are the public square of our day, and we can't emphasize enough how important opening weekend is. And so if you want to see stories like this, my encouragement to those of you who are watching is to buy your tickets now, get early, let theaters know that this is a film you're interested in. So I before we kind of start wrapping up here, I'd love to just hear from everybody. If there's one thing that you could say to viewers before they see this film, what would it be? Not everybody wants, of course.
I guess there's actually a lot of light in this movie. There's that actually Stan and Nate had a really good relationship, which is quite comical at times. Stan himself was actually somebody who just leaned into his sense of humor. And there's a great scene when Nate dances like crazy on stage, where it has a sort of footloose moment, although he can't dance. And it runs the gamut of emotions, I think, in terms of tones. It is very dramatic, but there's a lot of love in it, and it's very touching.
I just don't think there's that many good movies out there. You got the superhero movies. You have some romantic comedies that oftentimes miss their mark, and then you have a film like this where you can take a date, or you can take your significant other and sit down and invest the 2 hours and come out with a good feeling, come out with being entertained, see something that is well done. I think our production design was terrific. It was photographed well. The music is really good. So it's an opportunity to go see a good movie. I'm really proud of it.
You should be.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm proud. From my perspective, I think the two things that I would say is that, we're talking a lot about impact and what it leaves you with, but like Damian said, it does have this really great, the way that Jared Harris plays Stan Deen. It's like, for me who knows Stan, like from the opening scene of Jared playing Stan, I connect to it. I connect to him right away. And Stan was very funny, and he was very witty, and even his dry sense of humor, I laughed right away. But when I'm watching it in front of an audience that didn't know Stan, it takes them a little bit to kind of get the jokes and understand it. And then by like, I don't know, 20-30% into the film, they're laughing alongside of it. And there's a lot of laughter moments. There's a lot of laugh out loud moments, actually. But, you know, I get it right away because I knew Stan, and the people that knew him in our Lancaster community will probably feel the same way. But it is cool to see that kind of ramp up as the movie goes on. And Damian does such a great job. And between the script and then Damian and then, you know, Jared and Nick's relationship, it does a great job of that interplay between deep emotion and humor and those different tones. And that's, I think, a really great thing where it takes you through that journey. And by the end of the movie, you're fulfilled emotionally, I think. And you're given this opportunity to kind of sit back and say, wow, you know, yeah, what just happened? And how can I, my interpretation is, how can I learn to be, you know, either like Nate and never give up, or like Stan and help someone else.
Beautiful. Nate,
Yeah.
final words from you.
For me, you know, there's a lot of people in this world who feel overwhelmed and negativity in the world. And I believe that telling this real, true story of hope and redemption can really provide a counterbalance to some of the issues that they might be dealing with, reminding us that there is light even in our darkest situations. And I'm just so thankful to get to share my story in this film with everyone. And I believe that they'll be able to use this film to help and inspire those in their lives that might be going through some difficult situations.
That's so powerful. Well, Nate, I want to thank you for having the courage to tell and share your story, and to share Stan's story. And Damian, I want to thank you for your just creative vision to bring all of these amazing artists together to tell this story and just to craft such a beautiful film. So thank you for that. And Julio, especially you, thank you for the unique way that you're bringing your craft to this film. We need beautiful films.
It was a worthy cause.
Yes. I love the Dostoevsky quote, "Beauty will save the world." And you guys have created a truly beautiful film here. Derek, I want to thank you for your perseverance that you've brought to make this story, just be alive. I know it was a long journey, and it was unsure at moments and at times how you were going to cross the finish line, and we're not to the finish line yet. I always tell filmmakers that making the movie is the job's half done now. Right. And so now we have the other half of getting this powerful, beautiful story to the world on January 24th in theaters nationwide. So you guys are, viewers out there, you do not want to miss this film. Watch the trailer. Again, share it. Look for it on YouTube, on whatever social media platform you're looking on. Share the trailer with your friends, and get tickets early. When you do that, that's really a way that you can support and just help artists know, help exhibitors know, help everybody know these are the kinds of stories that we want to see in the public square of the theaters near you. So I know we mentioned this at the beginning. We want to make sure everyone knows that tickets are on sale. They are live and they can be purchased today. And so before we say goodnight tonight, I want to make sure everyone also knows, I mentioned a couple times, but this incredible opportunity for when you buy tickets early, we've also got an amazing offer for those of you who are willing to do that. A lot of times people wait to the last minute to buy tickets, just on opening night or maybe the week before. So we're doing something different here where everyone who purchases a ticket early, and today you'll be entered to win a $200,000 dream vacation giveaway for one winner, and the winner selected and a very deserving teacher that impacted their life. So, for example, like Stan Deen did for Nate, and what we've learned about the story behind this film tonight. So you can purchase tickets by going to angel.com/brave giveaway, or you can scan that QR code on the screen. And so every ticket purchase you make earlier, there's multipliers. Anyway, you can read all about it on that page, all the exciting things, but it's a unique and timely opportunity. Don't wait. Jump on it now while you have a unique chance. And we'll see. I would love for you to win it, and a teacher who has made a difference in your life as well. So thank you, everybody. With that being said, keep an eye out on Angel Studios socials for more info coming out soon for our next live stream. So thank you for tuning in tonight. We can't wait to see you in theaters on January 24th. We'll see you again soon. Have a good night.
My father was an angry man. And I'm a bad person, just like him.
Nathan Williams, you're under arrest.
I'm here to see Nathan Williams.
Are you family?
No, I'm his teacher. You don't belong here, and we're gonna get you out. Do you have any family I can call? No one.
You gotta get back in school.
You have a convicted felon living with you.
A poor little homeless boy in a charity case would make you feel good? What?
You do realize that this is your only chance.
Screw you, dude.
Screw me, really?
You're not a social worker. There's a good kid there.
Is there a problem?
You have brought him back here. What exactly do you know about this kid?
I know he was living out of his car for 2 years, going hungry.
You gotta be careful. This is not the same as being their teacher.
Stand on the chair, take a deep breath.
Saying your first priority is to this school.
Isn't my first priority to my students?
What?
All of them?
Failure to graduate guarantees you serve the sentence in full.
You gonna try and fix me? You know how many people have tried?
Maybe we're getting somewhere. Come on, what else you got? Come on!
A liar, a loser. I've heard it all before.
You know, whether it's something your dad did to you or your mom didn't do, you have got to deal with it.
You weren't there.
Why are you here if I don't care?
I care that you don't go to prison. Some kids are born behind the 8 ball.
I can't do this. And I'm cursed.
We're lying to them when we say everything's gonna work out just fine. But don't those kids deserve the same chance as the others?